Let me take this opportunity to greet each one of us with the belief that you are doing well and God is fair and is just and is merciful to you. I am going to take this opportunity once again to share with us a subject that I have entitled Impacts of Demonstrations, Picketings. In expressing public opinion in regards to creating good governance, that is the subject, of course. Impacts of demonstrations in ensuring public expression on governance issues. That is our title. And in this very respect again, I would like to, from the very outset, remind us that we are the ones to demand what we want. We as a people, we as citizens, we as voters, we as electorates, we as patriots are the ones to demand that which we want. And if we don't demand it, then it will never come to us. All along, from the time freedom was fought, I want to take it from that. 1963, 1964. It is true that the clamor from the people was the reason for that victory that Kenya got. The clamor that came from their combined voice, the clamor that came from their agitations, the clamor that came from their sacrifice. And of course, in that regard, that people sacrificed. We check the Mau Mau fighters of 1952. They were individuals who resiliently fought for the sake of a life which is not theirs, a life of people yet to be born. So it has been a fight and a clamor. Of course, if I talk about fight, I don't mean this confrontation, the fierce one. I mean, you struggle, you express your desire through a discourse, through a reasoning, because then that is what has always brought forth the gains that we've always had from that time immemorial. And therefore, from this clamor call and from the unity, of course, that was done by the freedom fighters and the founding fathers in an organized, well formulated, and with an objective to achieve freedom, we were able to be free. And of course, I've always said that if we talk about freedom, I mean that we have all the privilege and the chance to make great our continent, to make great our countries, to make great our lives. We have all that opportunity. And therefore, we have to embrace how they did it, how the freedom fighters collected and gathered themselves in one accord, agitating a unanimous agendas and the agendas of freedom and the agendas of a desire to work their own ways to improve the life of the then current and the then future generation. They are having that agitation. Of course, post-independent era, most especially the year 1978 to the year 1992, that KANU era, the people of Kenya have always agitated or shown, or some of them have always shown the agitation, expression. They've always expressed, they expressed their desire. They spoke out what they thought was not right then. They spoke through the organized group, the faith-based organizations, the Anglican Church, as historians have recorded. They spoke through the civil service organizations. They spoke through themselves in organized groups in the communities. So there has always been a voice, and a voice is what makes things to be done. And this is a well determined, a well formulated, a well organized voice, of course, voice that aims to achieve something, and that something in the context of the people, it must be self, so that you achieve for yourself, yourself as a people, of course, as a people. So as a people of Kenya, we come first because we are the basis of why any regime exists. Therefore, we come first. And of course, the agitations in the year 1978, 1992 resulted into the repeal of Section 2A of the independent constitution, which then provided a room for the creation of multi-party system. And I understand multi-party system as a system that could allow everybody else to express themselves. That is the only perspective upon which I appreciate that. That it created a conducive environment, or if it was so not so that conducive, but it was an environment nevertheless that people could and were free to share their thoughts, to share their agonies, to make efforts to change through their own ideologies, agitated within the prism of a party. Thus, or that is the perspective upon which the review or the repeal of Section 2A of 1982 is therefore understood by me. And of course, people from thence, people now had opportunity to share their thoughts, opportunity to share their agonies, opportunity to roll up their sleeves and take action by themselves through political parties. That one was good. And from the year 1992 up to date, there have always been voices. I have to say that the repeal of Section 2A of 1982 was the fertile background that created a room for the people to share their thoughts, to share their agonies, to share how unsatisfied they were, and that therefore formed the basis upon which the Constitution 2010 was therefore amalgamated. Because then there was need from the voices. There was need to create a framework, a legal framework, of course, so that all these cultural, political, economic agonies, views, opinion as they were exuded in the voices that were ever outspoken and ever loud could be welded and could be integrated in one document called the Constitution. And from that document, then the people were to be served and ruled from. And that Constitution also gave the latitude, of course. And that latitude, we started from Article 1. That says that all sovereign powers therefore belongs to the people of Kenya, and they shall exercise it in accordance with the same constitution. The people can exercise their sovereign powers either directly or through their democratically elected leaders. Of course, in the perspective of this discussion we are undertaking, we are focused in this statement that the people have the sovereign powers which they can exercise directly. That is the only point I'm interested in there in that constitution. So that the power starts and ends with the people. And from this power, that very constitution also gives in Article 73 the responsibilities of leadership. Of course, the clamor call then was to have a governance architecture that will warrant or will give a leadership system that prides on the people, because then the people are the reason for the existence of any and every government. So the Constitution went forth to say that this responsibility of leadership, and that Article 73 gives that responsibility. It is called the integrity. So when the power belongs to the people and the people exercise the power directly to vote in individuals to help them form their envisioned leadership structure, then they must, the people I mean, the people should ensure that their responsibilities does not only ends when they voted. Their responsibility is therefore required to proceed up to when that government at hand will end its service. And that is the context upon which Article 10 comes. The principles of governance. And the principles of governance therein includes public participation. People have to participate. People have to get involved. People must get involved. How do they get involved? Through their voice. They have to speak. They have to make known their desires. They have to make known their unsatisfactions. They have to make known their aspirations going forward and going in the future. When all that which is enshrined in Article 73 and its subsequent clauses are not therefore adhered to, are therefore undermined, are therefore assumed, are therefore compromised, then the Constitution gives an avenue through Article 37 that the people have another responsibility, which is of course drawn from Article 1, that the power belongs to them and they can exercise it directly And from that article, then there's Article 37, which says that the same citizens with the power have the right to demonstrate, the right to picket, and the right to present the petitions. Of course, I'll not talk about presenting petitions because I understand who I'm addressing in this case. So by understanding whom I'm addressing, I only talk about demonstrations only. Demonstrations. If you look, that Article 37 is as well supported or enhanced by Article 41 2D. 2D, clause 2D says they can also strike. They can go on a strike in whichever level they are in. They can go on strike. That is Article 41 2D. So our subject here, of course, now we shall go first a bit after we've understood all those backgrounds and those concepts that are relevant to this course. Now, what our theme is: the impacts of demonstrations in enhancing public expression on governance issues. That is our subject. So, is there impact? I believe so, or I don't believe so. I believe so, or I don't believe so. Or there is a conjunction. So, one, the intention of the writers of the Constitution was that through the demonstrations, the people were to express themselves. That, in my own analysis and understanding, that was and is their intention when they provided that article. That from that people could express themselves. The government at hand could and is able to know and to see publicly how people are either happy or frustrated. And from that, the framers thought the regime at hand would therefore respond. Based on that, this impact then, based on that motive, I am acclimatizing to the framers of the law, then this motive. Then this motive. This impact, I mean, sorry. But what happened? Something happened. The framers of the law in Article 37 and Article 41 2D, it says that they can go on strike in whatever institution and organization, whether private or public, they are serving in. The framers of the Constitution left something which is very critical, most especially now that the governance we envision through framing the Constitution is not the one we have. They left something very important. They failed to add a sentence that and the government or and the institution or the organization at hand must listen and hearken by addressing amicably their issues. That statement was not written, and therefore it is a gap there. Because lack of it now makes me to say that there's no impact on the demonstrations. So that our demonstrations are a mere pleasures that we undertake when we lack what to do, and their end result, of course, becomes nothing. Therefore, for the demonstrations to be meaningful and for the motive of the framers of the Constitution and motive of Kenyans to be true and valid, then there must be a listening ear. There must be an action that is derived therefrom, the action of demonstrating. Action. The government must take action. The institution at hand must take action. They must take action to address the problems that prompted the demonstrations. And that thing must be written in our law because we claim to love the law. We claim to respect the law. We claim to respect the Constitution. Therefore, that small statement should be added there. That and the government at hand must listen and address the issues at hand, either through a communication, which of course must be followed by action to address. So Kenyans must be helped by the law. Their situations as they are in, it is the law that we claim to love and to respect. That law must serve Kenyans. That's why we have to bring forth and tease out these gaps so that the law to serve Kenyans and not the law to be a ground upon which Kenyans are being ruled by misleaders. So demonstration is either impactful or not impactful based on how the regime